When I was a freshman here at Harvard, I started with the Environmental Action Committee. It's something I'd been involved in high school, and so I was very excited to join the EAC here at Harvard, and was the policy chair in my freshman spring, and then and sophomore fall, and then later in my college years, I was the co-chair of the Environmental Action Committee in my junior spring and senior fall. Well, I think the award, it was an individual achievement award, so I was looking at sort of the 4 years of work that I and the other recipients had done in the case of college students or a bunch of employees received the award as well. So just looking at a general attitude of sustainability and working on these issues around campus. Specifically, my other co-chair and I spearheaded a project in last spring, a year ago, where we organized a weatherization workday at the Phillips Brooks House on campus. The Phillips Brooks House is the community service building in Harvard Yard, and working off of a Habitat for Humanity model or a model we picked up from a local nonprofit called the Home Energy Efficiency Team. We partnered with the Office for Sustainability. They provided a bunch of energy efficiency experts, and we recruited a bunch of volunteers from different student groups around campus, and all came together on a Saturday morning in May, last May, and did a ton of different energy efficiency projects in this house to reduce the energy waste and the water waste and help the environment. And so we did projects like replacing the light bulbs with more efficient fixtures. We wrapped heating pipes in the basement to reduce loss of heat from hot water. We caulked around windows and doors so that the envelope of the building was tighter, et cetera, et cetera. And all in all, these projects will prevent 9 tons of carbon dioxide emissions annually and save $3,750 annually for the college. At that time, as I said, we recruited a bunch of different student groups to come and join out. We had about 50 volunteers who came out that Sunday in May, and I, being on the wrestling team, turned to some of my buddies on the team and said, I'd love for you to come out, and a bunch of them did, which was really fantastic, very supportive of them. And so I was thinking I'd organized a couple different community service projects for the team. One January term, we had coordinated shifts at the Harvard Square homeless shelter, and I thought a great project would be to do this weatherization work as a team. And so this past fall, the fall is more or less our off season, early fall and late spring, and so I organized one of these work days through the nonprofit I mentioned, the Home Energy Efficiency Team, where we weatherized a church rectory in North Cambridge, and all the team members came out. We actually partnered with one of the women's final clubs on campus, and did the same sort of projects. I was doing insulation in the attic, and people were sealing up doors and windows, et cetera, to improve energy efficiency in this rectory. I've been a lifelong outdoorsman. Grew up going to my grandmother's house in West Virginia and hiking and swimming, and I was in the Scouts and just loved going camping every month. And so my own environmentalism really comes from an interest in environmental stewardship, of love for nature and an enjoyment of nature. And I realized in high school and into college that there were these massive problems like global climate change, which were really threatening the environment on a scale that we've previously not seen, and at a level of integration with the world economy, namely energy, fossil fuel combustion, that was much different than any of our previous environmental challenges. And so I became active in this in high school, and then as a college student I've been able to study environmentalism and sustainability and energy use very closely and it's become a great passion and something I think I'd like to carry forward in my early career steps. So I think I'd ultimately like to work in Washington, D.C. For the American government on energy and environmental policy. Next year I'm headed to Cambridge University in the UK to study environmental economics. I think that the Europeans are really 5 or 10 years ahead of us on climate change policy. So I'm excited to get over there and get a taste for the culture behind the policies and the policies themselves in order to think about how they can be translated back to the United States so that we can start to really seriously address climate change. I was working in the Office of Energy and Climate Change for Carol Browner, and it was actually a fascinating time to be there because we were responding to the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. So I was on the front line of watching government crisis response, which was really fascinating to see how the different elements of the government, the Department of Energy, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Fish and Wildlife Service, worked together and worked with the public and worked with industry, namely BP, to solve this problem, and what were the different facets of the response and how it was represented to the press. And so at times it seemed like a complete mess, but it was a really amazing experience to have. And in addition to that, I was able to work on the effort to pass comprehensive climate legislation, which was ultimately not successful last summer, but thinking about how going forward the government can start to address climate change and carbon dioxide emissions absent any further legislation beyond the current regulatory structure of the Clean Air Act.